Welcome, welcome, welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching. We've been talking a lot about stress. Today I want to ask you, have you ever felt like the dogs in that movie that say, "Squirrel"? And they're running and chasing, and they were involved and focused on one thing, and then they were automatically running this other way. A lot of us feel that way. And a lot of times this happens when we make a decision. We've worked hard, we've made the decision, and then we start overthinking it. We start not trusting the process. Let me share my screen with you. So you know that we've been talking about stress, and when we do the squirrel thing, that is very stressful because we can't concentrate and focus on the decision that we made because we're so busy wondering whether that was the right decision. Maybe we need to change. Maybe we need to do this, do that. And sometimes we change in the middle without even waiting to see whether that first decision was a good one or not. Let's remind ourselves what we're talking about. One is talking about regulating our bodies in the moment. When we get triggered or stressed, how do we calm down our brain? I actually was a little frantic before I went on today. And so I did a little breathing exercise and I thought, I should be teaching you a breathing exercise every time. So here we go. Do you want to learn one? This one is very simple. We're just going to breathe in deeply, as long as it can get you full lungs. And then when you breathe out, you're going to say "voo," and do it low and long, and you'll feel it kind of rumbling in your mouth and your throat, in your lungs. Do this several times, and this will help calm your brain and give your brain a little refresh where you can think more clearly. Okay, try it with me. Breathe in. Okay, I gave up. I probably could have done it longer. But you can feel that kind of rumble there. That's a really good thing for your brain. Do that 2 or 3 times. See if that helps calm you down when you're stressed. We've also talked about how to get out of stressful situations. Maybe we're in a negative environment on a day-to-day basis. Is there a way to get out of that? Or is there just a way to change it? Or ways that we can eliminate the stressful situations? And then we learned that the most powerful way to eliminate stress is to change our reaction. Because it's not usually the situation, but it's usually our reaction to the stress. And one of the ways that is very powerful is using these concepts of these core disciplines. We've talked about the first 3. Today we're talking about the 4th, trusting the process. So today the first one is we're going to learn how to begin. And I want to do a little summary because you can't actually trust the process until you've done the first 3. So in awareness, we're seeing reality. We're looking at the facts, what is true, and then we're seeing how am I reacting to what is true. If y'all remember that. If you don't remember this, go to my website, kimberlyncoaching.com. Look on the Springboard tab and you can find all the previous videos and you can catch up on it or refresh yourself, whichever way you would like to do. Once we become aware of what's the truth and what is reality, then we learn to accept it. So this lets us stay present, we're objective, we're just looking at the facts, we're accepting them. Remember that accepting doesn't mean you approve or that you like. You're just saying this is what is. Now, maybe once you accept it, you can make some changes. And that comes in our next one, the conscious choice. But right now for an acceptance, we realize what the facts, we understand how we're reacting, and we accept how we're reacting. Once again, once we accept, we can change. We change when we use conscious choice. This is where we are consciously looking at what's going on, and we're not just running off of those old habits. Remember, our brain likes to create habits because habits take a lot less energy in our brain. But we don't want that when we're trying to make decisions. There are times that that's good. There's a lot of things during the day. It would take us forever if we had to consciously think about each step. When we're making decisions, We want to be able to evaluate. We look at the facts, we accept them, and then we have no judgment. Then we make a plan. And this is all done with conscious choice. Once we do those, then we're ready to need to trust the process. Today, we're going to talk about two parts of that. One is we're going to talk about what the process is, the process of learning and mastering. And then we're going to talk about some beliefs that will help you trust the process. So what do I mean when I say trusting the process? What we're talking about is this process of learning and mastery. Whatever it is you're doing in your life, whether you're taking a course, whether you're working, whatever you're doing, you're always learning and growing, and there's a process that goes on that it doesn't, none of this just happens overnight. You don't just decide, I want to be smart, or I want to know how to do this, or I want to know how to do that. There's a process to learn that. And we're talking about trusting that process. An example of this is athletes. Even the most elite athletes are always striving to reach higher. They're always working and moving to go forward. They know that if they stop, they're going to fall. There is no staying the same. You're either growing or you're getting lower. And so we're always a work in progress. You are always a work in progress, and everything starts from where you currently are. I think this quote states it well. It says, your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. So wherever you are today, this is where you start, and then you move on to wherever you want to move on to. Some people, a lot of us, I used to, a lot, had this idea of when I get there, or when that happens, then I can be happy. Then I can feel like I'm successful. Then I can feel like I've arrived. I'm through, I've gotten there. So when we're kids, we want to be a teenager. When we're a teenager, we want to be an adult. We want to graduate from high school or graduate from college or get our master's or our doctorate. We want to get married. We want to have kids. We want to get those kids potty trained. We want to get those kids out of the house. We want to retire. All these things that are out there. When I get there, then I will have arrived. The problem with this is that this implies there's something missing now. When we're always looking at out there, we're not enjoying the present moment. And actually, this is another one of our core disciplines that we'll talk about later. But for now, just know that when we are concentrating on out there, we are not enjoying the now. So here's the truth. There is no there. There is no out there someplace that's going to, when you get to that point, now you're going to be happy. Now you're going to feel fulfilled and satisfied, because when you get there, you will know there's always something more to learn. You're always learning, you're always growing, and so you never arrive. Now, how do we live in this paradox? So on one hand, we're never as experienced, we're never as knowledgeable, as skilled as we can, and we will be, but yet, how can we be happy with that? If we know we're never going to arrive, how can we keep motivating ourselves to keep working on growing and yet enjoy it along the way? How do we enjoy the trip? So we've talked about this before, having a mastery mindset. When you have a mastery mindset, you're trusting the process through this. You can set milestones. You can have little things along the way that let you know you succeeded. You can make little habits. We're talking about if you're trying to change a habit, add a good habit or get rid of a bad habit. If you look at the end down there where that habit is totally gone, then you get discouraged. But if you set little milestones, little step of the way, along the way, you don't expect yourself to do it perfectly now. You expect some mistakes. You expect some difficulty, but you celebrate your accomplishments along the way. And then you can experience peace of mind and fulfillment, and you're enjoying yourself as you're continuing to learn and grow. So if you have this mindset of waiting until, this also kind of goes with a performance mindset, because you're not happy unless things are perfect. And you have this idea in your head of what perfect is, and perfect only happens out there. These cause you to have anxiety and frustration, and you feel inadequate, like you can't do it, and definitely causes you a lot of stress. And then what you end up with is apathy or a lack of motivation. What's the use of even trying if I know I'm never going to get there? Here's the irony. And some parents are confused about this. Do you know, are your parents, or you know some parents that are constantly criticizing their kids and constantly pushing them to do better, to do better, to do better. And they feel like, oh, if I compliment them or say good things about it, they're just going to get lazy. They're not going to work hard. I got to keep pushing them. And they're doing it for the child's best interest, but the child just gets discouraged. They feel like I can never please my mom and dad. So here's the irony. You perform better when you feel contented and fulfilled, and you have peace of mind when you are accomplishing small things along the way. You're celebrating them. Your loved ones celebrate it with you. That actually keeps you motivated to keep going. So here's a nice thought. Your development is unfolding perfectly. Sometimes we have a hard time with some of these. I'm throwing some things at you that you may have to kind of chew on them a bit before you can decide if you want to believe them or not. And of course, you know, anything that I tell you, you take what you like and you leave the rest. Just take it, think about it. If it seems helpful to you, put it into your life and act on it. Try it out and see if it helps. So in our mastery mindset, we're a work in progress. We're going to continue to grow, and we're developing perfectly. It's unfolding. It's happening as it should. It's not too slow. It's not too fast. It's happening just like it should. Step by step, we're growing, we're learning. Once again, like I said, we set the expectations aside. We don't have a set, I'm going to get to X amount by X amount. You can try for that, but a lot of times you need a plan A, plan B, because life throws us curveballs. We don't always get where we want to get by the time we had it planned. So be in the moment, appreciate where you are in the moment, enjoy where you are in the moment, and still work to get better. So when you get through one phase, you set this little milestone of what you're going to do in this month or this week or whatever. When that's over, you look at it. You say, how well did I do? If you did good, yay. If you didn't do so good, change your plan a little. Make another plan for your next phase. Now, if you are a person who has been thinking about that out there, think about it for a minute. What do you believe is lacking in your life now that will make a difference, make you happier, make you feel more successful when you're there? What are you missing right now? I'm suggesting that you're not missing anything. You're just not thinking about that. So here's the question. How can you trust? How can you trust the process? How can you accept and trust that where you are right now is perfect? It's kind of difficult. I have some ideas that can help you. 2 beliefs. Number 1, you always do the best you can do, and you can do nothing else. I know, kind of hard, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more. And number 2, you know more than you know. You know more than you think you know. Okay, let's talk about it a little more. First of all, you always do the best you can. Think about things in your life. Go back in the past and think about it. Did you ever just set out to do less? Did you ever just, I don't know, maybe in school, maybe there's something you didn't care about. But if there's something you cared about, when you tried to do it, did you ever try to not do your best? I'm saying that you probably did. And I'm saying that you did not go out there intentionally to make a mistake. Maybe at the time you didn't have enough information, you didn't have enough skill, you didn't have enough experience. All kind of things came into play that made your decision maybe not an optimal decision. And it could have even been a failure with what it was exactly that you were trying for. But you never did it on purpose. You tried to do the best you could. And so, if you can embrace this and you can think, I'm always doing the best I can. When you look back on the past, you can give yourself some grace. So you can say, I did the best I could do with the information and the skill set that I had at that time. And so then when you think this way, you're always served no matter what happens. So if your efforts are successful, you created what you wanted to create. Things are good. If you're not successful and it does not do what you wanted, you learn, you find what to change, and then you can try it again later. Again, you're served by what happens. You don't have to think about what happens as a failure or bad, because it's not truly a failure. It just didn't go exactly like you wanted it, and now you can shift and change and do it differently next time. Here's another one. This is the core principle of coaching. You know more than you think you know. And when you talk to people out there, so many times people want to give you advice. They want to help you or tell you what you should do. As a coach, I believe that you have a great deal of wisdom inside of you. And when I work with you as a coach, I ask you questions to help you discover what you know, but you don't realize you know. So if you can come to this point to realize, I know what's best for me. Now, let me give you a little caveat. It doesn't mean you shouldn't research. It doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to wise people. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't get opinions. But once you've done all your research, done all of your thinking, your learning, then you know what you should do, even if someone has to help you figure that out. So once you make these decisions, trust that you already know this and trust the plan that you've created. Remember, we've talked about that these plans that I'm talking about right now, this is not something that you just on the spur of the moment decided just to go buy a new car and you walked in the lot and you grabbed it. We're talking about decisions you have thought through, you've researched, you've worked out, you've made the decision, and then sometimes still we second guess ourselves and we wonder whether we did the right thing. So if you can believe this, that you know more than you think you know, you can get out of your own way. You cannot overthink it. So many times we overthink it, we make it more complicated. We seem like this, and really the straight way through is the best. And when you go into something that you are working on, have you done this before? You prepared, you studied, you researched, maybe you're doing a speech or something and you go into it and you're scared to death. Or maybe you're presenting something at work, but you prepared, or a test at school, you prepared, you are ready for this. You're just not confident that you're ready. So when you trust the process, it means I trust that I've done all the things I need to do, and now I'm just going to act and perform, do whatever it is I need to do, and I'm going to trust that it's going to work out okay. So today, as a summary, we have talked about learning and mastery concepts, and we've talked about beliefs that can help us trust that process. And then those two beliefs are, you always do the best you can, and you know more than you know. Do you believe these? If you don't, why not? If you would like some help with any of this, if this stuff resonates with you, but you're not quite sure how to bring it to life in your own life, I would love to talk with you, see if we would resonate for me to coach you. In the show notes, there's a link at the bottom of the notes where you can schedule a free consult with me, and we could talk and visit and see whether coaching would be powerful for you. Meanwhile, this week, trust the process and look around and see where you're trusting and where you're not. And don't get distracted by those squirrels. Bye-bye.